Welcome back, everybody. My name is Dragagon, and this is Gregtech New Horizons. So I haven't really actually played in probably a month now. A lot of it has come down to some decision paralysis. Been stuck trying to decide what order and what way to get what things done. I think I finally come to a conclusion and can begin working again. So what I have done, it's not a whole lot, honestly. It's really quite embarrassing how little it is. I decided to put a basic centrifuge here with the 4x redstone alloy cable, and I hooked it into this already existing system for working with the spruce wood so that I can start up a tank of methane. Now the reason for the methane is that I want to make more chloroform so that I can start to automate some kind of what's it called? Some kind of polytetrafluorethylene, PTFE. The reason for that is I really would like to automate making circuits. But in order to automate making circuits, I need to be able to make the plastic circuit boards. I already have the iron 3 chloride way over in this corner down here. So that part's done. I get the sulfuric acid from dealing with the light fuel that I use for making the polyethylene. But I didn't have a reliable way of making methane by itself. This first tower right here was doing the wood tar stuff, which gave me like toluene and phenol and a couple other things. But it's that second one, whoops, behind it, that was running off of fermented biomass. And it gives me a whole bunch of other stuff besides methane, and I didn't want to have to run my pyrolyze oven and have it shuttling fluid cans all the way over here in order for it to work with the fermented biomass. So what I was thinking about doing instead was just setting this thing up. It can draw off of my already existing spruce wood, which isn't doing anything because I haven't been running the wood tar stuff yet. And then from there I can get enough methane to work both with the PTFE as well as giving me some of the methane that I need in order to work with the silicon rubber, because you need the methane in order to make chloromethane, in order to make that, what is this, dimethyl dichlorosilane. You try saying that 5 times fast. And then mixing that with water in order to make the silicon rubber. So that's really the bulk of everything I've done. Yes, I had a lot of decision paralysis. What I was stuck between deciding to do was how to start on some circuits versus automating the circuits. And in order to automate the circuits, in order to save costs on the sulfuric acid, I needed a way to get PTFE. The PTFE then could make an LCR. The LCR could make more PTFE to make another LCR to get started on one LCR for the silicon rubber and another LCR for some, what's the other thing I'm trying to make? Epoxid. That's the other thing I'm trying to make. So yeah, these 4 LCRs are going to go quite a ways towards my chemical setup in order to make PTFE, silicon rubber, epoxid, and part of the epoxid making process also has me go through, I'm looking at the version that uses isopropylbenzene. So if we use isopropylbenzene, and if you guys have noticed up here, you can see we have bookmarks now. That is because as of right this moment, I believe it was yesterday or a couple days ago, 2.0.8.1 released on Technic and released inside the Discord, so I'm playing with that. The isopropylbenzene can be converted with oxygen into acetone and phenol, and then the acetone and phenol, you need 2 phenol to 1 acetone, and that guy will go into making that molten bisphenol A. So let's see here, it's this one? No, not that one. Let's see. molten bisphenol A. Let's take a look at this guy real quick. Acetone, 2 phenol, 1 acetone, okay, and some hydrochloric acid. I don't really need the stinky water cell, so there is that. Oh, that's why I think I clicked on a liquid instead of on a cell, which is why it didn't pop up with this. But yeah, there is this way of setting it up so that we can just get rid of the water. We get some molten bisphenol and then some empty cells. And all of that comes from isopropyl benzene. And then, of course, the isopropyl benzene comes from phosphoric acid, benzene, and propene, which means that I need to build another distillation tower, looking at either refinery gas or naphtha in order to get the propene. The benzene we already get from the wood tar, and then that way we can make the isopropyl benzene. So benzene, propene, some phosphoric acid, get you a bunch of isopropyl benzene that you can then break down into phenol and acetone. And the phenol and acetone, the leftover acetone I can use to turn into ethanol and turn that into the tetranitromethane that you need in order to make the cetane boosted diesel. So it actually provides us a secondary benefit of either being able to turn this fuel into cetane boosted fuel, or if we didn't want to mess with the fuel, I would have to set up another thing for taking the ethanol and methanol from the wood tar products, from the fermented biomass, and converting that into biodiesel, and then upclassing the biodiesel with the tetranitromethane into cetane boosted. So yeah, you can see I had a lot of decision paralysis trying to figure out how I wanted to get what products where so that I could build up basically more fuel and more plastics so that I can get into automating circuits. I really would rather not have to make circuits myself. We have all of this stuff in here for setting up AE2, and I haven't touched a single bit of it outside of separating out some of these HV circuits that I need in order to start building some of this stuff. These 16 are actually going for the 4 LCRs I'm looking at making. These 4 here, what am I doing with those 4? Those 4 are supposed to be for 2 oil crackers, and then these last 2 here for an HV, this HV chemical reactor, just so that I can start working with, I think that's a required quest for where I am currently in the EV tab. It wants me to make one of those, does it? Yeah, right here. Nope, chemical bath for that one. Somewhere or another, it wanted me to make an HV chemical reactor, I thought. And I could be completely wrong. I might be thinking I need to make this guy for this stuff, and that wasn't what I was thinking I needed to make. The problem is the last of the stuff that I need to make is actually this, this advanced electrolyzer. I'm not sure where in the quest line that happens to be. You can see here we've got the HV cutting machine. We've got some more power right there. There's an EV chemical reactor, but I don't need that one just yet. There's no quests after it. What does this want? Indium or radon production faster. If you already made an LCR, use that instead. So yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of reason for me to make that guy. But you know, basically I'm trying to get through to some of this stuff. Maybe that should have been an HV scanner. I know I need the HV scanner soon, the HV scanner being a necessity in order to build the Tier 2 rocket so that I can get to Mars, so that I can get uranium, so that I can get the radon and progress down that line. So yeah, it's going to be quite a bit of stuff. But for right now, I at least got the methane going so that I can make some PTFE, and I am going to look at bringing you guys back once I'm ready to set up at least one large chemical reactor and try and get that thing automated to make PTFE itself. So I will see you guys back here in a bit. All right, took me a little bit of time today in between doing a whole bunch of other stuff in real life, so lots of pausing, but I finally got it taken care of. I took some of the methane from there, brought it over to my HV chemical reactor, which is way over there, was using some of the chlorine from that, got the stuff set up, and finally was able to make quite a bit of the PTFE. I needed some steel as well because I've got to make some steel casings, but I believe I have the majority of the other stuff that I need done and ready. So let's just grab these few things here. I have my HV electric motor. I've got everything else set up there for my chemical reactor. I then also have these four guys, and that. That'll take care of my pipe casing along with the copper nickel coil block that it needs. And then, let's see here, the last of the stuff that I'm going to have to make, that should ding one thing complete though, maybe? Hopefully, kind of, sort of. I still need 8 of those casings. The 8 of the casings are going to take 16 of these guys popped into that. Let's see here, and then the other 8 times 6, which is this 48 here. So we'll just get those produced into the steel plates. And then right here, I'm going to need to swap this out for those circuits. And watch as that guy completes. When I updated, I accidentally deleted my old pack, so the volume has changed a bit in terms of Minecraft volume. My volume should not have changed, hopefully. We shall see. But all of that stuff together, I should... There's that. There's both of those. Alright, so it's just the 8 chemically inert machine casings, which are going to require 12 of these guys. Oh, and I've got that guy going the wrong direction. So I just did that for nothing. Take those and pop them in there so they can just fill up down here. 24 of that, that'll work for a start. Get those guys going. And we'll go ahead and get all of these rods converted into those steel casing. There we go. I think they're called steel casing. Steel frame box, sorry. So there is 7 and there is 8. And let's go ahead and put those guys in there with those. And that should get me some of the solid steel machine casings. In the meantime, we'll have to wait until those guys finish up. Just 12 more. And this will be nice. Having this thing set up, we can use this other thing here. Let's see here. Let's look for tetrafluorethylene. So here we go. If I'm making tetrafluorethylene, I can actually use a large chemical reactor, and it'll take the hydrofluoric acid and chloroform this way. The alternative, of course, is to go about it this way. You can just put in chlorine, methane, and the hydrofluoric acid along with a 24 configuration, and you can get the tetrafluorethylene plus your 2 things of hydrochloric and diluted hydrochloric acid. And that will probably be a bit better. I should double check that. If we go with the other version, we don't need a, what do you want to call it, a circuit in there. It will still get us the tetrafluorethylene and the diluted hydrochloric acid, but that means that we'll also need to have the recipes for the hydrofluoric acid, which needs a circuit of 1, and the chloroform, which needs a circuit of 3. So it makes a bit more sense just to go with the second recipe, have 1 circuit in there, well, 2 circuits, one set to 1 for the hydrofluoric acid, and the other set to 24 for the rest of that, and just let it do it all in one batch. Let's see here, that's going to be an HV. That's also an HV. So yeah, there's really not a whole lot of benefit there, except that we're saving the time from also having to make the chloroform, so we're saving 4 seconds on that. And then the hydrofluoric acid is going to be whatever the hydrofluoric acid is. It's a nice cheap recipe. Wow, ULV at 3 seconds. So if we're already powering it with HV, this thing is going to move pretty quick on setting up the hydrofluoric acid and get us the tetrafluorethylene. And then from there, one last recipe, which also needs a 1, which is that. I would rather have done, well, there we go. A circuit of 2 if you wanted to use, wait, not 2. Still a 2. A circuit of 2 if you wanted to use a whole bunch of oxygen and the titanium tetrachloride just a little bit at a time, and you'll double. Instead of only getting 1.5 with just oxygen, you actually double it to get quite a bit. Not sure I'm going to go this route yet, just because right now my titanium tetrachloride is definitely what I am using to make my titanium, so I'd really rather not waste any of that. So it will likely be this recipe right here, where it's 1 oxygen with a configuration 1 circuit, which we'll already have from the other one. It'll take it 8 seconds. Let's see here. It'll be twice again. So half and then half. So it'll be about 2 seconds a recipe to make the molten polyfluorethylene. But in any case, there are our 8. And then if we put those in there, what am I messing up on here? Chemically inert. Oh, a 6. So do I already have a 6 in here? Do I have a 6 somewhere? That's a 2. I don't think I have a circuit 6 anywhere. All right. Let's just really quick then, we'll go ahead and just pull out the circuit programmer, and we'll swap out the 4 to a 6 real quick and then put that back. So there's a 6. Oops. There we go. Get that guy done. And there is our chemically inert machine casings. And that will be the last of what we need in terms of the quest for our LCR. There it is. Bring me my vat of polyethylene. Pop that guy in, bring him back to a 4, and we'll put my 24 back and just put the 4 right there. Fantastic. So that got us, we can either go with 16 large PTFE fluid pipes. That would get us, you know, that would take care of all of the large pipes for 8 of these chemical reactors. Otherwise, we could get 16 large stainless steel fluid cells, or we can get 1 Tier 4 loot bag that's already been enchanted. That's kind of a difficult decision. I might just let that sit there for right now. Let's see. These other things, I'm probably not going to work too much on the other explosives. I'll probably get them eventually, but definitely not right now. The only other thing that really I want to work on is this guy right here, the oil cracking unit. It is going to take, of course, more stainless steel. I think I have, how much do I have right now? Oops. 119. That's probably not enough, because each of those things takes 8. And it wants how many? 20. So that's 160 stainless just right there. In any case, I will get to work on that because, like I say, I want to make 5 of these total towers, those 2 crackers, and then that way I can, instead of having this small setup right here, which is making light fuel, I can instead focus on getting all 4 of the fuels, cracking the naphtha and the refinery gas, and then pumping those through another set of distillery towers to get their byproducts. That will negate the immediate need for the toluene and what's the other one? Benzene. Because I will be getting them through those methods. So I won't really have need of this guy. He makes creosote oil. He makes the stuff that you need for, I believe it's the however you want to pronounce the PBI plastic, which I can't do until we are at the next power level up, which is, what is that? HV, EV, IV. So until I quadruple my current power, I can't even think about doing that stuff. Plus it all uses the tungsten steel, which I don't have a proper setup for. So yeah, I'm going to figure out where I am going to set this guy up. Off camera, I'm going to make all the hatches and things that I need to get that set up, and then we'll see about showing the setup of it. Right now, probably still stuck with Project Red. I would really, really like to get away from Project Red, but I am going to need a ton of titanium in order to make stuff like the fluid import bus is pretty easy. If I grab the fluid import bus, you'll see it's 3 lapis plates plus a regular import bus. A regular import bus is 1 plate plus an annihilation core. The annihilation core is nice and cheap. Gold, redstone, silicon, some nether quartz rods, some pure fluix crystals. Not a big deal there. 1 titanium, Certus quartz, nether quartz. All that's pretty simple stuff to make this import bus. The issue comes when trying to make these guys right here. The Emmy fluid storage buses. Again, 3 plates on a storage bus, but the storage bus is where it gets hairy. A chest, a piston, more of the simple stuff, but then you need the Emmy interface, which right there is 12 titanium to deal with it. So every 12 titanium, I can make another storage bus. I would really like to make a storage bus for all of my chemicals that I am currently using. And the reason for that is, I don't know why. I like the sound of having those large storage, these things, the super tanks. I like the sound of using super tanks. I probably would be better off if I just went ahead and used these fluid storage components. But in order to make use of the fluid storage components while you're crafting, you have to make another special block. You actually have to go about making the... let's see here, fluid, put a space in there. This guy right here, the ME fluid assembler, he has the ability to, or maybe it's the autofiller. Oh, the autofiller's not any better. The autofiller, of course, you can see already takes the fluid assembler. The fluid assembler requires one of these molecular assemblers, and the molecular assembler requires an advanced assembling machine. That guy alone costs you 1, 2, and then 3, 4 of these EV circuits, and I definitely am not set up for crafting a whole bunch of EV circuits right now in order to deal with making one of these guys. But those things can automatically craft cells or buckets of fluid, and that would be nice. If I have these fluid storage cells set up and configured properly, you can hold, I think it's 5 different fluids in these things, and I don't know how much each of these guys can hold. I need to look that information up. But you can hold 5 different fluids in each of them, and then their size determines how much of each one you can hold. And then from there, with this thing, you can set it to craft cells and to send them around where they need to go. So that would be something that I definitely want to look at quickly, because a lot of these things I could then set up crafting patterns that require a certain number of cells to be input on the LCR, and then from there I could actually have some kind of system going, much like what we have right now with the Project Red. So that is something for the future. Right now, I am just going to settle back in and work on getting this first LCR configured, get it to where it's producing polytetrafluorethylene, and then I can consider making the other 3 that I want for the epoxid, the isopropyl benzene, and the silicon rubber. So I will see you guys back here after a while, once I have this guy at least initially plotted out for where I'm going to put him and get him set up, and yeah, we'll go from there. See you in a bit. I'm back, and I got sidetracked by quite a bit of stuff. So I decided that I needed to work on going ahead and getting my initial set of circuits done. I used some of the PTFE that I had created in order to make, what is this, 180? I think there's actually 184 plastic circuit boards right now. The reason for that is because I'm making this stack of, I'm making 120 of these integrated processors, all so that I can then turn around and make 120, sorry, I can make 60 of the HV circuits that these guys make. I believe that's the yellowish colored ones. Yeah, these guys right here, the processor assemblies. Yeah, circuit assembler, these guys right here. So I'm planning on making 60 of these guys, and the whole reason I'm making 60 of these is because those are the ones that you need in order to make these workstations. And the workstations being the next thing on my list of circuits to make, these guys right here. The reason I'm going about making all of these workstations is because I also kind of got sidetracked and I decided that I wanted to go ahead and tear down these two guys here and build all 5 of the distillery towers that I have planned. Also looking at making the 2 crackers. But in order to do that, I kind of need to speed up my EBF. And in order to do that, I'd really like to upgrade my steam turbine here. So I was, just going down the list of things that I'd like to make. One of those EVs will be to make the EV dynamo hatch so that I can get an increase in production. In order to deal with that, I have those tungsten steel pipes that I'm going to turn into a turbine using the shadow ore. I can make a nice big one with that. And then that will get me, I think it's like 1.5 amps of EV power, I believe is what it is. So yeah, the whole idea being that I'm going to try and increase my power so that I can increase the EBF, and then by increasing the EBF, that will speed up how long it takes to make the stainless steel, because in order to build all 5 of these things, including the stuff that's already here, and then the 2 crackers, I needed somewhere just past 1,100 stainless steel ingots, and at my current speed, that is, what is that? That was, at my current speed, it's a minute each. So I was looking at, 1,100 minutes. I don't think so. I think I really need to get that sped up a bit. I will be taking chunks of it over time. So there is at least a quicker way there. But yeah, I'm going to be having this guy run nonstop for the foreseeable future. But I'm trying to get stuff upgraded, and then once I get stuff upgraded, I'll just slap an EV hatch onto this guy, or maybe 2 HV hatches, and then really get that output cranked up. It is high enough, the coils, the nichrome coils are high enough that the stainless steel will actually get the quadruple speed instead of only the double speed, so it'll go from 60 seconds to 15 seconds each. And yeah, a quarter of the speed, so a quarter of the 1,100 minutes that it would need in order to deal with that should be fairly helpful. Let's see here. There we go. Sorry, I'm just doing it so that I can shift-click it down into that mess. In any case, I'm going to keep working on these things. I will bring you guys back in once I have all of the EV chips done, and we're starting to actually work on getting some of these upgrades performed. So I'll see you in a bit. All right, I went ahead and got my HV processor assemblies done there. You can see in my hand right now is a glowstone doped wafer, and that's because I just returned from a trip to the Twilight Forest where I mined up a sapphire vein, and I happen to have gotten an exquisite sapphire. The whole reason I was going for the sapphire vein was because I was going to take and crush the sapphire ore and run it through my sifter over there and hopefully get one of these, but I lucked out and just happened to have picked one off of the small sapphire ores. Now the whole reason I need that is to throw into a basic lathe, because in order to make the EV dynamo, I need these power IC circuits. The power IC circuits require some kind of blue lens, whether it's the aqua, the blue topaz, the opal, or the sapphire. Now the problem is that a lot of these, a lot of these can be made with the plates if I had an MV lathe, and I don't. So I can't do it that way. I think even the aqua lens, yeah, it needs an aqua crystal plate in an MV lathe. Really the only way to get these other ones is in an LV lathe is to use an exquisite gem. And so oddly enough, because I happen to have made or I happen to have received an exquisite sapphire, I can pop that in there, and after 2 minutes it will give me my sapphire lens, and that will be perfect. I can then drop this glowstone doped wafer and that lens into my clean room over there, and I can get out those power IC chips that I need. Yeah, the power IC chips. And so it should be easy from there. I need to make an electric pump, which is going to take a little bit of titanium. I believe it's 4 pieces of titanium, a little bit of stainless steel, and then I can have that. This guy requires 2 each, I believe. Yeah, the wires, and then the wires make 4 each. So it takes 2 each of those things, plus some magnetic neodymium rods. Fortunately, I think it's in here. No? Where is it? Is it in one of my bags? Yeah, here it is. These small tungsten steel fluid pipes. If we take a look at those, one of the things I can do is I can just smelt it straight back to an ingot, since it's already been processed into ingot form once. So I can take 2 of those, well, 4 of those really, and make those 2 coils that I need. Oops. And then once I have those coils, everything else is pretty simple, and I should be able to make this EV dynamo hatch. The other thing to do is now to take these HV processors and go ahead and an electric scribing tool. Take them and go ahead and in the circuit assembler get them in this recipe here and convert them up to those EV chips. So that I can start doing the things I need to do with EV. Hey, look at that. There we go. All done. I now have that. So if we take a look at this, yes, it can make all of those guys into the larger pieces. It'll also be needed if I ever want to get from the Lapotron crystal into the engraved Lapotron crystals, which I think those are used. Yeah, those are used for the fluid circuits. And then the fluid tier processors, it also goes with the, is that only for fluids? I guess those are only for fluids. I was under the impression I needed those guys as well for the tier 2 processors for fluid, not fluid storage, for the AE2 stuff. Let's see, applied energistics. These guys over here, I thought for whatever reason it was necessary for these, but no, I guess that's an engraved diamond crystal chip, which needs a diamond lens and diamond plates instead of Lapotron. So anyway, that's all right. Let's look at this one more time here. I need it in the HV one for a minute at a time. It's at 100% efficiency, so let's go with it. That'll take a little bit of time there, but that will be a good start. I'm going to go ahead and gather up the rest of the parts that I need in order to get ready for this buffered dynamo hatch, and then I will be speeding up the... I've got a pump that's sitting underneath that pumps into this guy, and that pump I can then modify so that we can start to get out the more steam that'll go into the LHE, And then the other thing that I need to do is, you will see here, I've got 64 blaze powder. I've got 3 stacks of 64 obsidian and 2 stacks of 64 bowls. And that is so that I can convert this stone into the shadow ore. I figured this was the best way available that I knew how right now. It should give me 32 of the shadow ore. I'll have to break all of this down, and I'll have to just get rid of the ignis and the crud, I forget what the pick and shovel one is, but at least get the precantatio out of that. For the obsidian ingots, it's very nice. I was originally going with just obsidian, but it turns out the obsidian ingots will get us both metallum and the tenebrae for that, and then the bowls, of course, for vacuos. So I'm going to take those up into there, get it separated out, and then I also have the glass files necessary to gather up those things, and then I'll take them over to my little setup over here, and we'll get those guys converted into the shadow ore. So things are coming along nicely. I should soon have that buffered EV dynamo hatch. I should have a large shadow turbine, and then I will be increasing my power from the LHE to those new higher values. So that should definitely be worthwhile. So let me go run away, get some of this stuff prepared, and I will see you guys back here in a bit. All right, did a little bit of looking around. This will probably be the last update for this video. I finally made some more plastic circuit boards, made all of my random access memory, got everything I needed together in order to start making these workstation chips. And so I'm slowly going through that, but one of the things that I noticed was that this pick wafer requires an advanced cutting machine. If I go ahead and take a look at this thing and we go over to the cutting machine, sorry, not the advanced cutting machine, the EV cutting machine, the advanced cutting machine 3. It requires that EV power and to be here in the clean room. And then when you take a look at the quest goals for EV, there's the cutting machine, and right down there is that EV power dynamo. So yeah, it looks like I have to make a small sidetrack in order to make these cutting machines, and then once I have the cutting machine, then I can cut this guy up and work to get that next level up of power. In the meantime, I've gathered up a couple of the parts that I need right here for the for that advanced cutter. If we take a look, I just need some aluminum cables after that, a pair of the EV circuits, so I know where I had a list of things I was going to make, and one of those things on that list was to make an IV, one of these guys, the mainframes, in order to have that available for the tier 3 rocket, but that's far enough in the future that I can go ahead and not worry about making that and use those 2 EV chips I was going to use for that in order to make this guy so that I can boost up my power. In the meantime, I am slowly pulling out all of the materials that I need out of my nice little backpack right here. There you can see all of the wonderful stainless steel that I am going to have to make use of in order to get this guy up and running and functioning. But yeah, gathering up all the parts. The blue alloy bolts, those used to be, what did those used to be? I think those used to be platinum bolts. But because of the changes to how you get platinum in 2.0.8, it now requires these blue alloy bolts, and those guys take a minute per ingot to pump out as the 8 bolts per ingot. So it takes a little bit of time. I went ahead and started this while the last few ingots were preparing to be completed. So yeah, having all of these guys is going to be going to get me to where I need to be. My crafting list, let me take a look at that real quick. If I can remember where I put it. It seems I hid it on myself. Oh, you know what? I think it's on the back of this. It is. All right, so what I was looking at making, you guys know about the four large, what are they called? LCRs, large chemical reactors that I was working to make. I was also working to make the 2 oil crackers, as well as the 3 more distilleries. I need to make this EV cutting machine. I need to make an EV electrolyzer. I need to make an HV scanner. And then I would like to make another EV assembler. The other EV assembler would be going towards making, under applied energistics, making my first molecular assembler, but I don't really want it for the molecular assembler. I instead want the molecular assembler so that I can turn it into this fluid assembler so that I can start making fluid cells in AE2, and that would allow me to start digging up all of these pipes that are here. I can take all of those pipes away, and if I start putting down storage buses, if I have that fluid assembler, I can just start requesting cells of these fluids anywhere I need them, rather than having to rely on pulling up the Project Red request pipe and doing it that way. So that is on my list of stuff to do. I also have enough stuff so that I can make that buffered EV dynamo hatch to increase my power, the stuff to make the Tier 2 rocket chip so that I can start focusing on getting to Mars and getting some more progress there. And then the last thing is one of these EV chips is going to go into making this guy right here, the diamond etched computational matrix. The reason for that is this guy goes into making the QED. And then in addition to making the QED, I need the QED in order to make this guy right here, the molecular transformer. His recipe is made in the QED with a pair of HV chips. So as you can see, I've got 4 chips here. I think I've got 2 more that are left up over in the chest where I was storing some of my other stuff. So yeah, I am looking forward to making that. In any case, I'm going to finish up these workstations, and I'm going to call this video here. I shall see you guys in the next video. Till then.